Hello and welcome to this, the 10th and final webinar in this series of Networking Not Working webinars. Today's topic, really important for those of you who are looking to take your business to the next level, launch a product, get a new job. What else might you want to do? Any key event in your life is all about getting out there and spreading the word. But how do you do that? How do you actually mobilize your networks? That's what today's webinar is all about. And I'd like to welcome those of you who are joining us from Australia, from Saudi Arabia, Portugal, Germany. Where else have we had some messages from? From America. It really is great to have you here on the webinar with us. Those of you who can join us live, hello. That's mostly the British viewers, and for those of you who are joining us on the recorded version, hello to you too. And a quick introduction to something that's happening here in Britain today. It's called Red Nose Day, and there's my red nose. This is called Astro Snort, and it's basically a huge charity campaign to raise money and also raise awareness for people in the UK and in Africa who are more deprived, if you like, in terms of resources and care and attention. And there's lots of great work going on all over the country at the moment to raise money for that charity. So a little bit more about that later. But anyway, welcome to today's session. And the biggest challenge that people have is that they leave their networking until it's too late. They wait until they need a new job. They wait until they want to launch a new product, launch a book, launch a new business before they even think about networking. And the reality is, it's like any relationship. You only ever get out of a relationship what you put in. So the first part of this process in terms of mobilizing your networks is to build your networks effectively. And all of the other webinars in this series, I've given you lots of ideas and tips and advice that I've gathered over the years from the networking experts that I've had the privilege of meeting and also observing. And the key here is to be doing this all the time. So start conversations wherever you are. And, you know, I talk in the book about a very simple formula of literally hi, how, what. So if you have that in your mind as you're interacting with people in everyday life, then you will build a network that will sustain you for life. So it's literally hi. You'll be surprised at how many people avoid even that. So hi is going to put you way out there in the top 50% at least of people who are willing to go out on a limb and attempt to build a new relationship. So hi is your starting point, and then it's how. How did you get here today? How did you hear about this event? So nice, simple openers that are not threatening and are not going to necessarily put you in a position where you've got to think creatively. And then you're on to the what. So what was it that brought you here? What was it that attracted you to this event? What is it that you do? What is it that that's keeping you awake at night? Although that sort of question is on to the next level really in the conversation. So you've opened the conversation up, you said hello, you've got an initial connection made, and then you might ask that sort of question I just put in there. So what is it that's keeping you awake at night at the moment? What is it that's a key challenge for you in your business right now? What is it that's holding you back in your career? You can sort of get into a more detailed conversation, but you just have to say hello and you have to go and meet some people. So that's the first part about getting your networking going. And the second part is the following up habits that we talked about, I think it was in the very first webinar. So what do you have to do to follow up? Well, It can be as simple as a thank you, either a note, an email, a text. It could be sending someone some links. It could be recommending a book. So I met someone this week, for example, at a conference, and she had a real interest in psychology. So I've sent her a link to a great book that when I was talking to her, she hadn't heard of. And that was how I followed up with that initial connection. All we're doing, if you remember, is we're building a bridge between the first and the second opportunity that we're going to have to talk and start to build a relationship with this new connection that we have in our networks. So those are the things that we need to be doing all the time: starting conversations, following up, building a bridge to the second activity, which will be the next conversation with that individual. Could be a Skype call. So before this webinar today, I've had a Skype call with someone in London. I've got a Skype call scheduled later today with somebody in Dubai, and I've got one scheduled for Sunday with somebody in South Africa. So those are just bridges. They're just next conversations in fantastic relationships that I'm building as my networks grow and strengthen. So those are my everyday activities. What I'm trying to do with my networks is become a trusted connection for all the people that are in my networks. Now, I can't be that for every single person in my networks, but for those who I'm able to support and are able to rely on me for some support, and those who I may need some support from, I want to have a real trusted relationship. So I'm constantly doing things to try to reinforce those relationships, support them with information, make connections for them, help them with their projects, and in return, what I'm receiving, if you like, without any thought in advance, is when I need some support, I've got people there that I can call on. And that's what we're seeking to do. We're seeking to constantly create win-win opportunities with the people in our networks. So what gets in the way? What gets in the way of us just literally going out there and asking for help? Usually it's fear. Fear of rejection, fear that somebody might say no or think that we're a bit impertinent to ask for their help, fear that our request might be seen to be ridiculous or not easily accepted. It doesn't really matter what our fears are. The fact is, a lot of people hesitate to ask for help and to mobilize their networks for fear of that rejection. And there's a nice, easy way that you can overcome that, which is to make your request as polite as you possibly can. We all know what it's like. If somebody asks us something nicely, even if it's the most ridiculous request we've ever had, we're still likely to respond in a generous way, either generously saying, yes, absolutely, I can help, or generously in the way we want to turn them down because it doesn't quite fit with what we're up to right now, or we don't have the resources to support them. So make your requests for support as politely as you possibly can. And secondly, give the person that you're asking help an opportunity to say no if they can't do it in an easy way for them. So you want to tee that up in the request. So let me think back to the latest request I've made. Okay, so there was someone who had a connection that they promised me at an event, and for whatever reason they got busy between the event and me following up. So about a week later, I got in touch and said, let's call her Rachel. Hello, Rachel. It was great to meet up with you last week. I hope you've had a fantastic week. I just wanted to know if you'd had any opportunity to think about that introduction that we talked about last week. Don't worry if this isn't possible for you right now and you don't have the time, but just checking in to see if it was possible. So what I've done there, I've gone back, I've reminded them of the request, but in a very polite way and in a way that recognizes that one of the key challenges of modern life, which is just time management. It's really difficult for some people to keep on top of everything. In fact, for most people, to keep on top of everything and remember every commitment that they've made. So I'm being very polite in the prompt, but I'm also, as you heard there, leaving some room such that if they've sort of suggested that they would connect to me almost in a rash moment, but they don't think it's possible to do that right now, I'm leaving room for them to say no, and they can see that it's not really going to upset me, if you like, in terms of their ability to not meet their commitment. So always leave people wriggle room when you're asking a favor, asking them to do you some, give you some support. So that will help you overcome those barriers, because you're minimizing the risk, if you like, in asking for the support. So how do we go about asking for referrals? Well, I'm not the referrals expert. You need to be talking to people like Andy Lapata and Bob Berg if you want the technicalities of how to get lots of referrals and generate a referral machine, if you like, inside your business. However, I did interview Andy, and I've seen and heard Bob Berg talks many times, and I've deployed some of their tactics in my networking. So hopefully some of the ideas that I find will work for you too. So the first rule is, don't ask straight away when you're meeting someone for the first time for a referral, because if you think about it, that's a little bit impolite, to say the least. You've only just met them, and now you're asking them to do what is potentially a huge favor. You don't know when you've just met someone whether the person that you're asking for a referral to is a really big ask or just an easy thing for them to do. So you have to get to know people a bit better, build some relationships, and get things going, if you like, on a level that will enable them to think nothing of the referral request. So don't do it straight away unless they are listening to something that you're saying and they offer a referral. Then obviously take them up on that. But it's not a great idea to ask for a referral straight away. The next thing is, if you're going to start to mobilize your networks, start with the people, and this may seem a statement of the bleeding obvious, start with the people that are closest to you, your closest connections, your support networks, the people who are close in your everyday networks. And whilst that may seem obvious, I've seen people go almost 1,000,000 miles away from their closest connections to ask for a referral of someone, when actually they had some first and second degree referrers in their own closest networks. So sometimes people overlook the obvious when it comes to referrals. So start with the people who are close, and then gradually broaden that out to the people in the next tier and the next tier of your networks. So what that does for you is, first of all, it gives you a friendly audience for your referral. And secondly, it gives you a fantastic opportunity to refine your thinking. Now, I do this regularly. I go out to some of my closest friends and closest associates in my networks to ask them to give me feedback on all sorts of things, whether it be a business idea or a new concept or an innovation I've come up with, or just sometimes something simple like, I'm thinking of doing this, what do you reckon? And I get some amazing feedback all the time from people who are really close to me, who know me very well. And I can build on that then, because what I find is their feedback, and it's great to get feedback from people who are close to you, because they don't hold anything back. And what you're getting then is an opportunity to refine your thinking. Sometimes you're thinking the best person I need to meet right now is X, and you start talking to people in your close network and you tell them what you're trying to achieve, And a little bit of feedback might just set you off that way over to meet Y. And the reason for that is because the people who are closest to you might have some fantastic connections that get you moving. Sometimes we can have a thought, as I seem to remember talking about previously, have a thought of meeting the Richard Bransons of this world, when actually the thing that's going to get us moving is to talk to some local entrepreneurs, local businessmen and women who can help us today. We may not get to meet Richard Branson for years. So talking to your close networks is going to start to generate a lot of activity and a lot of buzz around the thing that you're looking for. Most people have more than 200 people in their networks. So even talking to your closest 10 or 15 people is going to potentially expose you to thousands of people just with a couple of conversations. So start with your close networks and then seek to branch out. And in the process, you will become clearer on what it is that you actually need, what it is you actually are looking for, and who are going to be the best connections for you, and that will be definitely refined by the time you actually get closer to that person who's going to be able to help you and support you with your project. Okay, so that's a high level look at referrals and a good way of kickstarting that process. The reality is, though, you want to be setting up things that make referrals almost a constant in your business, in your life, in your career. And so a great way to think about that is to set up referral exchanges, referral networks, and you don't have to do that in a very formal way. So Business Networks International, BNI, that's a global organization that has a very formal structure that enables you to share referrals. So if you're not a member of a network like that, then you can actually set this up informally. Who is it in your networks that seems to be really well networked? They're the people that you want to talk to say, as you're out and about, you get to know me and my business better. Obviously, I'm getting to know you and your business better. And then let's see if we can set up any referral exchanges such that, I will constantly think about you and have your business at the forefront of my mind when I'm out and about. And if you could do the same for me, that would be great. So you're setting up win-win opportunities all the time. So I have a couple of people in my networks that are constantly aware of what I do. I keep them updated. They keep me updated purely by the fact that we have a great relationship. So it's not as if we're consciously thinking, right, I'm on a campaign, I need to contact John and Lynn and get things moving. Instead, it's a case of, I haven't spoken to John for a little while, let me give him a quick buzz. Hi, John, how you doing? What are you up to? Ah, fantastic. And automatically, just by virtue of the conversation, John's going to ask me what I'm doing and what I'm up to these days. So I'm not just calling John when I've got a new project. I'm calling John because I want to maintain that relationship, which is fantastic, which is ongoing, which has served me and John well for several years already. So you have a close group of people who are very happy to refer you and your business or your skills onto other people and vice versa. So those referral exchanges are really powerful, and I would urge you to think about building those and think about who is in your referral network today, who is really interested in helping you and has great networks and great networking skills. Anybody carrying around the book or tuning into these seminars is obviously going to be as skilled as you. So think about that. Who's helping you? Who are you helping in your support networks? Okay, so we've got a project now. We have a new career opportunity. We have something that we wish to launch. How are we going to do that? How are we going to engage people so that they can support us in this new project? Well, the key is to be both clear and specific. And I have a quick example in the book that I'd like to read to you now, which is the 5 W's and the 1 H questions. And you try to pull all of those into a sentence or two that makes it really clear to the individual you're asking for support what it is you're looking for. So the who, why, when, what, how questions encapsulated into a sentence, because you're effectively constructing this sentence answering all the questions they might have in their mind. So if you've said to somebody you need a referral, but you've left out the who it is that you'd like to be referred to, then they're not going to be able to implement that. If you've left out the why of what you're looking for, then they're not going to feel that you're motivated, if you like, to really take advantage of the referral you're giving. So you have to address the 5 W's and the 1 H. And if you can encapsulate all of that in a sentence, that really helps people, because you're very clear, and it helps them build a picture in their mind as to who it is they might want be able to refer you to, either to talk to direct or to create that link to the person that you're looking to connect with. So the example I give in the book is, I'm looking for a new job. So that's the what sorted out straight away, as the current one is not stretching me enough. So I've now explained the why of this referral request. Ideally, it would be someone based in Switzerland. So that's the where, so that I can practice my skiing too. I'm immediately available. That's the when sorted out. And if you can introduce me via an email, that's how, to 1 or 2 of your retail contacts in Switzerland, so that's the who again, then that would be great. So do you get it? It's the who, why, when, why, the who, when, where, why, what, how of getting that referral request embedded in the mind of the person you're asking for support. Now, that's not going to do it all on its own. You probably want to try that out with your close networks and see if they can have a clear picture in their mind of either what it is that you want or who it is they might be able to connect you with. You'll also, you're going to need to blow your own trumpet a bit. One of the things that I talk to a lot with my mentoring clients is they quite often hide their light under a bushel, to use the old phrase. They're not willing to go out there and tell people why they're great. Well, there is a problem with that. If you're not willing to do that, how are you going to encourage anybody else to do that? They need to know enough about you and what it is you've done and what it is you've achieved to be able to sell you in the minds of the people that they're talking to. So if they really don't know anything about you because you're not willing to tell them, it's not about boasting. It's not about saying you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's literally just saying to them, you know, the skills that you have, the latest benefits you've delivered for your customers, the latest results you've achieved for your boss. All you're doing is giving them something to communicate effectively to the people that you're looking to meet. So blowing your own trumpet is a great, is an essential thing to do, rather, to get your networks mobilized and enabled to go out there and have some great conversations on your behalf and make some connections. So if you're making some connections directly, another piece of advice is to not necessarily ask for the referral and instead ask for advice. So we're starting, remember, with some people who are in our close networks, and we're saying to them, I need to change career, I need to launch a new product, I'm looking to do X, Y, and Z. How would you go about it? If you were in my position today, where would you start? Any thoughts? So by positioning it that way, you're allowing the individual who may be able to support you to engage their brain with a challenge. If you say, who in your networks can you connect me to? it's a different type of challenge, and it's one that might be fraught with all sorts of anxieties around your credibility, the credibility of some of their connections. Maybe they don't have the best connection for you right now, and they don't know how to say that because it might sound like they're just trying to avoid your request. So instead, by engaging them in a sort of intellectual challenge, if you like, what you're doing is getting them to think differently. So Simon wants to launch this book. Who do I know in bookmaking? Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe what's more important, Simon, is that you talk to a publisher or you talk to somebody who's written a book before. So they're starting to engage in the same problem that you have, if you like. But what it will also do is, and it might just trigger then an effective individual that they might be able to refer you on to. So set them a challenge rather than ask them for a referral is a great way of just getting other people to be in the same space as you, I guess, in terms of wanting to help and wanting to move you forward with your current challenge. Excuse me. So we've covered the fact that you need to be thinking about this all the time. We've looked at referrals. We've looked at how to generate referrals with your networks, starting close, building out, getting feedback, tweaking your words and getting greater clarity and specificity around what it is you're looking for. But you really do need to be thinking about, how can I be networking all the time? How can I be building relationships all the time so that when I do need to mobilize them for my aims, if you like, I can position that in a way that will definitely be win-win for some of the people I'm looking for, and will also be something that people are really willing to do because you've helped and supported them so many times over the years. So keeping in touch, adding value for people, brushing past them either online with likes and quick comments or at live events, just basically constantly building value-based relationships where you are illustrating that you value the people that you're supporting, and in return they will almost undoubtedly want to support you and push you forward. So that's all well and good, but I've purposefully left one thing to last, because it is related to this Red Nose campaign that I told you about earlier on. And that's, if you've got something new, or you've got an initiative that you'd like to launch, or a project that you want to get off the ground, or you'd like to move from one job role to another, the key thing that will mobilize the people in your network quicker than anything else is your enthusiasm. So don't approach somebody saying, oh, I've got this terrible job, I really hate it, I can't wait to get out of it, and do you know anybody that could help me? That's not going to be memorable. It's not going to engage the people that you're talking to. It's not going to enthuse them to want to help you, because your manner is suggesting to them, even if it's not true, that you have no energy whatsoever. So why would they recommend you to someone else? Instead, you want to be positioning it in the way that I talked about earlier. I'm really keen to get out and find another opportunity. I've pretty much exhausted everything I can do with in my current role, and I'm excited about the opportunity to be looking at a new role, potentially in management, so that I can stretch myself a bit further. So you want to be engaging, you want to be enthusiastic, you want to be passionate. If it's a project you're launching, why are you launching the project? What is it that you're trying to achieve? How can you engage people on a level that they can imagine themselves being involved in that project and supporting you? So don't stick to the logic. We talk a lot in coaching circles, in professional development circles. We talk a lot about the head, the heart, and the hands, and the relationship between those three. So yes, you're going to need to tell people what it is you're trying to achieve, but unless you can connect with them on an emotional level, or at least they can see your passion and feel that this is something that is exciting and they want to do, they will never act on that with their hands and get out there and support you. So be enthusiastic, be passionate about what it is you're looking for, and you will get a network around you that will be effortlessly mobilized when you need it to be. Okay, that's it for now. Keep in touch. Networking Not Working on Facebook, the same on YouTube. You've got all my details through those websites. I'm one Simon Phillips on Twitter. It's been my pleasure to interact with you over this series. I hope that you achieve everything you wish to achieve in your networking. And if you have any questions at any time, please just put them through any of those areas, and I'll be delighted to support you in any way I can. Happy networking, and I'll look forward to keep speaking to you very soon. Take care.